This is the study permit application process webinar with Acsenda School of Management. And Acsenda School of Management acknowledges that it is situated on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of Coast Salish people, including Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. First of all, I would like to welcome both of our speakers as they have given us the valuable time here and they are here to explain all the process.
So my name is Ariana Chavez. I am one of two founders of Canada Platform. We are an immigration organization, right? We are a corporation. Veronica and I, we are the founders, and also we do the processes ourselves. We don't have a team that will do the process for you. We do everything in-house. We take responsibility for our clients, and we do the process from the start to finish.
My name is Veronica Diaz. I'm the business partner of Ariana Chavez. First of all, it's important to understand what do you need to do as an applicant of a study permit. There are important responsibilities as an applicant to submit a solid application to be approved. As you may know, Canada has put a cap into how many study permits they will be approving per year. So it's becoming much more important to submit a solid application. You have to demonstrate is your intention to come to Canada as an international student. You have to present a letter of acceptance, now a provincial attestation letter. Okay, we're going to talk about these documents later on. Usually, you have to write a letter of intention or statement of purpose to be admitted to Acsenda. Okay, that document is very helpful for us, so we can help you to send you a second questionnaire to start working with a personalized study plan. That means that I know most of you have already been accepted by the school, but now you have to tell immigration why do you want to come to Canada and become an international student, or for those who are already inside Canada, why do they want to extend hopefully their study status or change their status in Canada. So it's very important to demonstrate a concept that is called a genuine student. That means that you are coming because your main goal is to graduate from the program that you have chosen, and that your intention to be here in Canada is to be a student and graduate from the program. Okay, I know there are some benefits to after coming as an international student, but you have to focus on the benefits of graduating from an institution inside Canada.
Okay, and then the second requirement that you can see on this screen is going to be to demonstrate a solid financial proof. What does that mean? You have enough money to pay for the first year of the studies and also the first year of economic or financial needs. That means having to pay for rent, having to pay for transportation, cell phone, incidentals, everything that a student needs to spend on in Canada, you have the money to pay for that. The government suggests an amount. The amount is $20,635 plus the 1 year of studies that Acsenda will charge. So all in all is about 38,000 Canadian dollars that you have to demonstrate. You have to have the money available. You can receive the financial assistance of your parents, family member, a really close family member. I can confidently say that parents are a really good figure of sponsorship. Also, grandparents, uncles, and other family members are less credible, but parents and grandparents are okay. Okay, and also the less sponsors that you may have, the better. I have seen an applicant trying to have 5 sponsors or 7 sponsors. That is too many. The message that you are telling immigration is that you really don't have the money, and the first sponsor also doesn't have the money. So you have to have a second one, a third one, a fourth one. So the less sponsors, the better.
And then the required documents may vary depending on your location, your citizenship, or your country of residency. So we're gonna go in depth a little bit more further, but it's important to confirm and make sure that you submit a complete application and the required documents. Sometimes some nationalities require specific forms, specific questionnaires, a specific set of documents, and it's very, very important to understand that that those differences.
Okay, and finally, you have to also show your intention to return to your country of origin. If you are from Mexico, you may say, okay, I want to go back to Mexico because I have a close family. Although many immigrants, we are in here and we have a lot of family in Mexico. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to go back to my country because my family is there. So we can use the country as a tie to my country, but it's not going to be the most important one. What would be another tie with my country? Possible financial ties like bank accounts if you have the money, or maybe if you are buying a lot or an apartment, a house, something like that. Or if the education here, the education you are going to get in here is going to be important back home, that also can play a part. If studying abroad is going to be looked at as an asset in your country, you can say that when I return to my country, I will, and then state your plans. We don't tell you what to do. You know yourself, you know your country and your environment. So you are the one who will make sense of what is back home that will pull you back. Okay, will bring you back to your country. Family ties, financial ties, social ties. If you have a significant other that is there, that also can play a part, or future plans for a business, future plans for a particular job, things like that, things that will be reasonable for you to return, and things that are attainable, things that are likely to be there when you go back. Okay. So there are, like Veronica was explaining earlier, a general list of documents for applicants. For everybody, right now, we need the evidence of acceptance to the school, the letter of acceptance, provincial attestation letter, sorry. This is a new requirement. It's been here for around a year only. And there are a few exceptions. If you are applying from outside Canada, there are no exceptions. You must have one. If you are in Canada, the few exceptions that may be applicable to students today would be only if you are already a student at Acsenda and you want to continue being a student at Acsenda. If you were studying in another institution, you will have to have the provincial attestation letter from the new school, Acsenda, so you may apply for your study permit extension. Okay, and then we already defined the financial support and what needs to be there. The statement of purpose, the same statement of purpose is going to be your study plan or your letter of intention. It's always a good idea to check what is required for your country because it may differ a little bit than the rest of the applicants. For some countries, a medical exam is going to be necessary. Police certificates may be needed as well, not for everybody. And for some people where the financial history is not believed, it may also be a good idea to submit the tax returns for the last year to show the officer that your family indeed can produce this amount of money and they pay taxes on it. The money is going to be available for when you come to Canada.
So it's very important. There are different forms. For people from outside Canada, we just typing in the a specific form that you have to fill out and submit. For those already inside Canada, please be aware the application is different to the one you did the first time you came to Canada. It's a different form, it's a different process, and most importantly, you have to have a valid status when applying. That is very important for students transitioning from one study permit to a new, or one previous study program to a new study program. Uh, it may be different for those who are already graduated from the previous study, and it's different for those who are using the credits from the previous program and using it for Acsenda. So it gets a little bit more complicated, and it gets a little bit more specific what you need to do and when. But it's very important for you to understand that you have to have valid status, and of course you have to apply before the expiration of that status. Okay. And we just want to clarify that when you are inside in Canada, and if you want to apply like using the form inside Canada, you have to have study or work permit. People, even if you are inside Canada, you require the PAL. And if you are extending from the previous program and you want to move to Acsenda, you also need to submit previous studies evidence. This is a new requirement. It's very important to always be updated in what is needed. And yes, Ariane already confirmed. Everybody outside Canada must have a PAL.
Oh, okay. So I want to speak a little bit about the importance of your statement of purpose, letter of intention, study plan. It can have the name that you want to give it. But what is it? It is the purpose. You're going to explain to the officer the purpose of your coming to Canada. Okay, so the main points in this explanation is going to be how this program is going to help you to get to your objectives in the future. A career, complement to a career. Some students already have a bachelor degree or another kind of education, and this is going to be either a stepping stone to get to the master's degree later on, or it's going to be the goal. Okay, if I don't have a bachelor degree, I want to come to Canada to get one. That is one goal. So everybody's situation will be different. You have to explain it in here. You will explain how having this education in Canada will help you back home. How are you going to be using this education to get a better career, to get better payment? Maybe having an education in Canada is going to be a good points for you back home. You have to explain why you chose Canada. Canada has um, visibility worldwide for students. It's a very attractive country for students. It has been traditionally. Right now, it's a little bit less because of political decisions, but it is still a very good choice. So, what makes you make that choice to come to Canada? If you have family in Canada, there is another reason to come, but there is also a new level of difficulty in your study permit because then the officer may think that you are just coming here to be with your family. So if that's the case, also let's do more questions at the end. You will explain also what have you been doing in the past that has brought you here to this day. Either you have been studying or working. Don't leave any gaps in your history because that is not going to look good in your application. If you were having periods of self-employment, explain that. What has inspired you to choose this program or to move from your country to another place, and also declare what are your plans after you graduate. When you graduate, will you go back to your country immediately? Maybe you want to remain in Canada and gain some experience with the period for the post-graduation work permit, and state also that you understand your conditions as a student in Canada.
Yes, basically, there are few um, points that we want to give you as to what not to do in this study plan. We usually don't recommend to apply for a same program that you already have, um, meaning in the same field. For example, if you have a bachelor's degree in business administration, and then you come here and want to study a bachelor's degree in business administration, it becomes a little bit more difficult to uh, provide reasonable explanations onto why you want to study the same. Okay, so we give you that advice. Try to move to a different program and make a reasonable study plan. Also, something very common that is asked by the applicants that use our services is, can I say that I want to go back right away after graduation, or can I say that I want to stay and work after I get my postgraduate work permit? And our answer is up to you. Like, you may apply for the postgraduate work permit. It's feasible to make that as an argument, but try to avoid making this the focal point of your application. You are coming as an international student, and as repetitive as we sound, your main goal is to come and get good quality education. You may stay here for the postgraduate work permit, but you have to provide evidence and reasons to why you're gonna return to your country after that period of time. Okay? And lastly, please be very mindful. Lies are not good for you, for your future. There are very severe consequences when people try to mislead information within an application that may, like, yeah, it will be very catastrophic. You can be even banned to apply to Canada for 5 years, etc. So try to be as transparent as possible.
Okay, and now this is a very important topic. That's why we're going back to the means of financial support. So, what counts as a solid financial support? It can be your main applicant, you as the main applicant, your savings, your own money, the money that your parents may have, or your sponsor if you're using a sponsor. Like I explained earlier, the minimum requirement is, as I said, about $20,635 for the 1 year of sustainability, plus the 1 year of tuition that the school is going to charge. But this is the minimum. This is the bare minimum. And it's not the perfect thing to show only the minimum. Okay. You have to show the more than you have, the better. Why? Because you only have the minimum. You could still be refused based on, okay, so this person, this applicant has the $39, the $39,000 they need for 1 year. But how are they going to pay for the second year of studies without having to work in Canada? Remember that while a student may work in Canada, when you are studying, it's not going to be enough to support yourself and also pay the tuition for the next year. So you have to have a plan of what is available to you as a second year, third year to pay for the school. If your parents are going to be your sponsors and they have a job and they continue to receive money, that is something that needs to be explained. What are the plans to pay for the next years, not only for the first one? You only have to show money for the year number one, but also have to show a plan to pay for the rest of the time. Okay, so your sponsor or yourself, how are you going to demonstrate continued income? If you have a house that you are going to keep renting, if you have a business that you are going to be leaving behind for somebody to manage, or your parents have a business, your parents have other income that is going to continue coming, that is going to be really good. Also, another thing that can help is to show evidence of your family's net worth or your net worth, depending on who is demonstrating the funds. If you have other properties, assets, business, other source of income, anything that you might have. I had an appointment with somebody who wrote a book, and they continue to get the money, right, for the residual income that they get from this. So if you don't have anything, okay, we're not going to mention it, but if you have anything that can be helpful, then by all means, show it.
Okay. Well, that's about like what is needed for the application. And we're just gonna now talk about what happened after you apply. Um, there are some additional steps that you have to take. If you are outside Canada, you must provide biometrics. Biometrics are the reading of your iris of your eyes and the fingerprinting. If you are inside Canada, you don't need to retake them, okay? But that's usually the next step. When you submit an application within 24, 84, 88 hours, they send you this letter and you have to take them within 30 days. It's important to always keep in mind the deadline of the next step throughout your process, okay? If you are from a country that requires a medical exam and you did not supply it upfront, meaning you submit it with your application, then you will receive a request for medical exam. And then also you have 30 days to take that medical exam. And after that is very important. I know it seems like a joke in here, but that's where we need a lot of patience, even for those inside Canada, but most importantly, those outside Canada. Uh, there is no way we can request updates or ask IRCC why they are taking so long. So it's very important for you to plan accordingly to your intake date and apply at least 3, 4 months before, and probably some other countries even more. So please really plan ahead. Okay. What happened when you are approved? Finally, it gets approved. The approved. Then, if you are from a country that requires a visa, remember there are countries that to come into Canada, you need to have an extra document stamp in your passport, which is called visa. If you are from those countries, then you will be request your passport to be sent locally into your country to get that visa stamp. If you're for a country that doesn't need visa, you don't have that extra step. Okay. And then when you get your visa, then you will, after that, you will get what is called letter of introduction. Is an official document where you have to present at when you are landing in Canada, and that document is going to be exchanged for the official study permit. The study permit is printed and granted when you enter Canada. Even if you are from a country that only needs electronic travel authorization, meaning you don't need to send your passport for stamping, uh, that means that you still need the letter of introduction. The letter of introduction is just a document actually with a barcode, and your official immigration document is given at your entry. Okay. We suggest to not buy the tickets before having this approval, at least the request of passport. Okay. And then after that, obviously, you have to make plans for your trip and being in contact with your school, let them know that you got approval and so on, all the planning for them to receive you here in Canada. And yes, of course, you have to come with that letter of introduction at the port of entry and don't leave without your document printed.
Thank you, Veronica. Okay, so now I'm going to just mention the benefits of a student in Canada. Students can, of course, work while they are students, like I mentioned earlier, but now I'm going to tell you the exact number of hours. 24 hours per week if you are during a study period. If you are on vacation or during regular breaks, you can work more than 24 hours. You can work full time. A lot of people during the summer, they can choose to go home and visit family, recharge batteries. Some other students may stay in Canada and work during the summer to get more money, to save for the next semester, to have the experience, to practice English. Whatever they would choose to do is going to be fine. And then some other students, especially older students, not as old as me, maybe old as me, but people who are over 30, they may choose to also take classes in the summer to graduate faster. Okay, that is part of a strategy that people use to apply for permanent residence if that's a goal. And it's important if you are over 30 years old. So you can take a choice in there. You can make a choice.
Okay. Well, in the best scenario, and we hope you the best in your journey to come to Canada. If you are granted a study permit, then as I said earlier, um, you have to comply with certain regulations and responsibilities while you are here, and that is becoming more and more important. Okay, because Canada is basically checking that people come and they are genuine students, meaning that they're focused on their program, that they make efforts to go to their classes, have good grades, and not just coming to get the 24 hours of working benefit or obtain just the benefit of a post-graduation work permit, but they generally are working towards their study program. Okay? You have to maintain legal status. That means that if by any chance your study permit doesn't extend for the length of your study program, you are responsible to apply for an extension with time and within the conditions and the rules that apply for that extension. Okay. And lastly, comply with the condition as international students. There are several conditions. Quickly, the most important is um, keep the full-time status as an international student. You have to, if you decide or you need a break, a leave, that needs to be authorized by your DLA. Okay, it doesn't like that avoids people who say, oh, I don't want to go to school anymore. And there are reasonable, it may be reasonable reasons for you to want to have a break. That's not the problem, but you have to follow the rules within your school to request that leave, and the school needs to approve it. Okay. So there are other conditions, but I think those are the most important ones. You have to comply with the full-time status throughout all your program. And if you need to have a leave of absence, it needs to be approved by your DLA. Okay? DLI, sorry.
Okay, and then I'm just going to quickly explain what is the difference between a ETA or a visa. For instance, I have one student here who is from Mexico. If this student, Alfonso, if you have ever been to Canada, you may have an ETA, an ETA, Electronic Travel Authorization, from before. If you were not a student before and you only had a visiting document, that ETA is canceled. Mexicans now need a visa. But if a Mexican had a visa within the last 10 years and they apply to come to Canada again, they may just get an ETA, an ETA. So it's a little bit confusing. If you have never been to Canada, you are going to get a visa. Same thing for Philippines, for instance, and other countries who are ETA extension countries, they are called. But for the most part, for the first time, people will use a visa unless you are from an visa exempted country. So regardless of what you are going to get when you apply and you are inside of Canada, you are not going to get a visa because you are already here. If you are applying outside of Canada and it is your first time and your country requires a visa to come to Canada, then you are going to get a visa to come. Regardless, the visa or the ETA the only purpose of these documents is to get you across the border inside of Canada. That's it. If they are valid for 10 years or they are valid for 1 year, it doesn't matter. What is going to keep you in Canada is the immigration document. This document gives you status in Canada. Okay, so that's going to be your study permit, visitor record, work permit, anything that says that you can remain in Canada for longer than just the 6 months than the visa would grant you or the ETA would grant you. So study permit in your case, because you're going to be students, that is going to be your status in Canada. If you go out of Canada and try to come back with the study permit, it's not going to be enough to return. You will need either the visa or a valid ETA to return. Okay, so very important to not get those confused. If you have a visa, you cannot study, you need a study permit. And then with the study permit, you can remain in Canada. Your immigration status is the one that you have to keep by obeying the conditions. If you have a study permit, you have to actually go to school to continue being a student. The day that you stop going to school, then your study permit is not going to be valid and your status may be in danger. Okay, there are certain conditions. If you graduate, your status is still going to be valid for the next 90 days, for instance, or if you apply for another program, then you can also keep your status even though your previous document may be expiring or it may have been finished. So keep in mind every date of documents that are important to your status, such as visas, obviously your passport. You can apply for a new passport in here. You can extend the visa if you are in Canada and you need a visa to travel, only if you have a study permit or a work permit. If you have a visitor record, if you're a visitor, you cannot. So always keep in mind that these dates, these documents are important. If you need to extend it, apply with time on time. If you for some reason forget and you think that your visa was for 10 years, you think your study permit was also for longer, and you don't look at it until it's too late, hopefully it's going to be within 90 days of losing the status. You can apply to restore the status of a student. Longer than that, you will have to leave the country. So very important to always keep in your calendar, keep in mind the expiration date of your documents.
Yeah, and for those who are extending and moving from one study program to another one of the conditions that you have to keep as an international student is as long as your previous study program and the new study program are not there is no a difference of more than 150 days. That's that, as I said, there are other rules, but probably for today's webinar, if you are moving from one study program to Acsenda, please be mindful the ending of your previous study program and the intake with Acsenda cannot be longer than 150 days. If that's your case, then please contact us and we'll be happy to assist you to give you further instructions on how to deal with that situation. But yeah, I just wanted to clarify that because of who is joining us today. And then upon graduation, if you comply with all your conditions, you are eligible for the postgraduate work permit. It's important to keep updated to what the new regulations are. Recently, graduates now have to demonstrate a level of English before it wasn't necessary, and changes can happen while you are studying. Okay, so that's why it's very important for you to keep your condition and keep updating of what the new rules are for when you graduate. Okay. And if your goal is into remaining into Canada and becoming a permanent resident, we recommend you to understand what are skill jobs and how to get into that job market to make your transition smoother. It's not the focus of today's webinar, but we just wanted to make that point into like if you are if you your plans, your long-term plans are those, keep in mind that there is a need for you to uh, get a skill job. No any job is will be helpful for your plans if you want to stay in Canada upon your the expiration of your postgraduate work permit. Okay. Other than that, I think we are just gonna finish with the last, yeah, the
The
last
last slide.
tips.
Well, let's see. This is just you can apply for your study permit alone, or you can apply obviously with us if you choose to hire us. You can apply with anybody else. But whatever you do, if you hire a representative, make sure that your representative has a license. Okay, there is a lot of people who say, I will help you for cheap. I know how to do it, but they don't. If they don't have a license, nobody is going to respond to you. And this is a one shot only for the most part. Before you could try one, two, three times and have chances of getting approved the second or third time. You can still apply if you are refused on time number one, but your chances of being approved are going to be a lot harder if you don't do a really good application the first time. So if you do it yourself, read everything, ensure that you have all the requirements, check, check, check. Don't forget any documents and don't copy an application that you saw somebody else doing, okay? Your cousin application last year is not going to be like the applications that are approved today. Your case is a unique case, so treat it as such. And so also another reason of refusals are if you don't have a good job and maybe you are young, but you have a lot of money in your savings, explain where did they come. Maybe a family member left you some money, they gave you a gift. Always explain where the money is coming from. If your family doesn't have a really good source of income, but they have lots of savings, did they work in another country for a while? Explain where the money came, okay? Also explain any student influxes of cash. If you have in your bank account 10,000, 10,000, 10,000, and all of a sudden you have 25,000, how come that jump came to be? Did you sell a car? Did you sell something that is worth $15,000 to justify that jump in funds? Okay, so that's also things to consider. And also, a lot of people declare double intention. I want to go to Canada to study, but I also want to remain in Canada and be a permanent resident. If you don't have strong reasons, don't do it. Immigration knows, you know, and a lot of people know that many students come to Canada with the intention to try to become permanent residents, and that's fine. Everybody knows it. It's totally fine. In fact, it's encouraged. Immigration Canada will give more benefits to people who studied in Canada than to people who are applying from abroad. People who study in Canada, work in Canada, they already like it in here. They want to stay. That's fine. People who are outside, they may think they are going to like it, but maybe they don't when they come. So it's better to study. That's going to be a long path, but it's going to be worth it. Don't mention that at the beginning that your goal is to become a permanent resident, because they are going to doubt that your real intention is to come and be a genuine student. Okay, so that is going to be the end of our presentation. We are going to put our contact information on the screen, but you can also contact Acsenda if you don't have a screenshot of our information and request for our email. They are happy to give it to you.